The Boston Bruins win 3-2 in overtime at home over the Detroit Red Wings and now lead the season series 2-0. Korpisalo was strong in the third. Pastrnak still having issues scoring, and Nikita Zadorov might have scored, but also is becoming the king of bonehead penalties. As always, with my game recaps, I'm going to cover the highs and the lows from the Boston Bruins 3-2 win over the Detroit Red Wings. Buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. Detroit versus Boston used to be a high-impact and fun game to watch, and now it's become a jumbled mess of boring hockey mixed with some flashes of brilliance. I thought the game was boring for the most part, and no team really made a push except for the Red Wings on the power play, I felt. Korpisalo didn't have to be good early on in this one, but the Bruins' best penalty killer all game was Korpisalo, and he made some great saves. Korpisalo is a tough one for me because I'm trying to figure him out. He makes some amazing diving saves, looks to be tracking the puck very well, and then every now and then, he just lets in a head scratcher. He's already played above my expectations this season and has been a bright spot for the Bruins so far this season. In 9 games he started, Korpisalo has a record of 6-2 with 1 loss in OT. In fact, he's won 4 out of the last 5 starts. He has a .239 goals against average and a .909 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. A far better performance last night than his previous start against the Islanders, where he looked very shaky and was having trouble tracking the puck. I'm going to continue to hammer this home, but goaltending really hasn't been the reason for the Bruins' struggle this season. In the previous game, the Boston Bruins had an outpouring of goals with a 6-3 victory over the Montreal Canadiens. And before last night, all the reporters wanted to talk about was the play of the Bruins' back end and what their impact had been on the Bruins' success this season.
So was there anything that Ochoa did on Sunday that allowed Charlie to use his talents to the best of his ability?
Probably the best way to describe it would be just a steady influence. I think that's the best way to put it. He played a simple game, kept the game in front of him. He didn't try to do too much or force too many plays and was pretty solid defensively. And that's what we're looking for from Osti, especially if he's going to play with Charlie, which it freed Charlie up to be a little bit more, I don't want to say, it freed him up to play his game a little bit more. That's the best way to put it. I thought Charlie played a really solid game because same thing, his reads were very good. He was joining the play at the right time. His rush reads were excellent as far as defending the rush, keeping the game in front of him too. So they seemed to feed off each other well that one game last game.
You feel like it's been a little bit of an adjustment for Charlie this year because he played so much with Grzelcyk in the past and him being elsewhere, maybe he was feeling it out with other partners?
I don't know that. I do know that obviously they played together for a long time. They did have different partners during the past few years at times, but they certainly had some chemistry together, the two of them. Grizz knew how to read off of Charlie and vice versa. So you do develop that chemistry. It's not unlike power plays and penalty kills when you're out there with the same guys over and over. You start to feed off each other. So, but Charlie is an elite defenseman, so I think he can adapt to anybody he plays with. When he's playing, when he's at his best, he's keeping the game in front of him. He's making the right reads as far as defensively and offensively. So I wouldn't contribute it to that so much.
Overall, the defense is just really a lot more composed in the last few games, even with Korpisalo a lot more shuffle. Why do you think that it was not easy?
Our D-core or our team defense, I'm sorry. Our D-core? Just trying to play the right way, like we've talked about before. Keep moving pucks up north, make the right play coming out of our defenses. So one of the toughest things is coming out of your own clean. It's very hard these days. Teams put a lot of pressure on you. So making the right read, whether it's a tape-to-tape pass or sometimes you just have to flip it into space in the neutral zone and let the forwards go get it. So they've been making better reads as far as coming out of our defensive zone coverage. And then I think just, like I said before when I was talking, the rush reads have been better. They're cleaner. We're inside the dots more. Like I even use Ozzy as an example. He was able to kill a few plays at our blue line just because he recovered inside. He created a good lateral gap for himself. So we have to continue to make those type of reads. Certainly makes it easier on our team defense as well.
How's a guy like Carlo going to help with all the continuity with him not missing his regular deep partner right now?
Brandon's versatile too. I mean, it's same thing like we talked about with Charlie. I think Brandon knows what his game needs to look like to have success. He can't worry about who he's playing with or who he's not playing with. He has a certain formula that makes him successful, and he just sticks to it. He'll be fine.
What do you thought about his game when he's been in?
Well, I thought last game was just what we expect from Mark. It was a straight up and down game. He managed his shifts well. He didn't overextend them. And he just, he's trying to play physical. He's trying to fill that fourth line role. He's finishing his checks, moving his feet. He's got to, continue to get to the net, just like the third line, so-called third line. I mean, Coyle's line, last game with Cassidy on it. They created a lot of energy. They got to the net on the forecheck. They forced a lot of turnovers. We expect the same thing. Mark has to be able to continue to push that pace for those guys, too, as well.
You mentioned that Coyle line. How does the dynamic of that line change when it's Castellic on that like that?
Well, there's just I said this the other day. He drags you into the battles more because of the way he plays. He's just a physical player. He likes to get in. He's got an abrasive style to his game. So he gets in on the forecheck. He creates a lot of havoc below the goal line in the offensive zone. So that just means that we have to have our second quick get in there, help support him, come up with some loose pucks. But, Mark's game's not going to change whether he's at center or at wing. There's just a little bit less responsibility defensively for him. But his physical style, he brought a lot of energy to that line last game, which I thought helped.
Now, in the clip, Sacco is mainly talking about McAvoy, but he does mention Zadorov, who I think, without his stupid penalties he's taken lately, he's played very solid hockey under Sacco. I thought the defense played a major role in the outcome of the Bruins' win, and since the coaching change has been a bright spot we have wanted as fans coming into this season. Coming into this game, the Detroit Red Wings have one of the best power plays in the league, and we all know the Bruins have a knack of taking bonehead penalties and giving teams the advantage this season. I'd be okay if the Bruins are taking penalties to prevent goals, but we can't deny the majority of their penalties are stick infractions that could have easily been avoided. Good news for the Bruins, though. Going into this game, the Red Wings have the league's worst PK. It was the Red Wings that got on the board first, though, which came off a bad bounce, and Lucas Raymond is left alone in the slot and rips one past Korpisalo. The Bruins had far too many chances to clear this puck, though, before this goal, but Raymond even looked surprised to be left alone in the slot. The good news is, not too long after that, the Bruins themselves capitalized on the Red Wings failing to clear the puck out of their zone, and Nikita Zadorov rips a clap bomb from the point to tie the game 1-1. The replay I'm showing doesn't do it enough justice because the noise it made as it went off his stick was loud, and the crowd at the Garden loved it. I mentioned before, though, the game was kind of boring as both teams had very strong forechecks and didn't give up much chances in the first period. The second period, we saw no goals, but we also saw both teams play very undisciplined hockey, and we saw Andrew Peeke get in front of every shot possible and even use his nose to stop a shot. By the end of the game, Peeke led the Bruins with 4 blocked shots, and I felt was having one of his best games until he takes one off the nose and has to leave the game. In the second period, the Bruins get into the penalty trouble and give chances to the Red Wings to gain some momentum. The Red Wings did score 1 goal, but it was called back for offside, which saved the Bruins. The Bruins took 5 minor penalties in the second period to the Red Wings 3, but some of them were offsetting. Nikita Zadorov almost cost his team as he takes a slashing penalty, but because Raymond acts it up a bit, Zadorov takes exception to it and goes in for a further cross-check. Zadorov was truly lucky he didn't get 4 minutes on this call, and lucky for him, the rest were pretty brutal and let a lot of things go. Because Zadorov's cross-check, honestly, it definitely should have been called. After the game, Zadorov even spoke to reporters about it and kind of got a little pissy about it. But honestly, at this point, this is on him. He needs to be better disciplined out there. Zadorov, for me, needs to get his emotions in check as he takes far too many selfish penalties and carries himself above the team. I think he's playing a lot better hockey lately, but he is far more valuable to his team on the ice than in the box. Zadorov under Sacco has been playing so much better hockey and has seemed to have found his game. He's impactful on the ice, but he's not when he's in the box, so he needs to stop taking stupid penalties. Luckily, the Bruins killed off all the Red Wings power plays, but because of these power plays, it got Detroit back into the game. Even when it was 5-on-5 in the second, the Red Wings had great puck movement and looked dangerous out there. Korpisalo had to come up with some nice saves to keep him in the game. The third period didn't start off the best for the Bruins, but they got better as it went on. None other than Lucas Raymond gets Detroit the lead only 1 minute and 19 seconds into the third period, scoring from the exact same spot he did in the first. This goal was one where Korpisalo confused me as he plays so well and then lets this one in. Yes, Raymond was in the slot, but Korpisalo had a ton of time to get set up and didn't cut down the angle. It was poor defensive coverage that led to the opportunity, but I would love for Korpisalo to have this one. Not too long after, though, Korpisalo will make the save of the game and truly help keep his team in it. He stretches himself across the crease and dives across to get a piece of a shot to keep it 2-1. Minutes later, the Bruins get a power play opportunity, and off the faceoff win, Lohrei spots Brazeau in front of the net, puts the puck on net, and Brazeau tips one home, and we have a 2-2 hockey game. It shouldn't come as a surprise that PP2 is the one that gets the goal, as they look a lot better than PP1 once again. Pastrnak, by the way, was playing on PP2 on this goal, but again, all game looks to make the pass instead of shooting, and when he finally does decide to take a shot, he shoots directly at the goalie. He was interviewed on the bench by Emily Kaplan of ESPN about needing to shoot more, and didn't look his happy self when discussing it, when that makes me think it's becoming a more mental issue. I have no doubt he will find his touch again, and if he gets going, the Bruins will win a lot more hockey games. The third period ends and the Bruins force OT, which is nice to see, especially since they scored a goal in the third period, which has been a struggle for them all season, especially at home. In OT, both teams trade chances, but it's Pavel Zacha that gets to be the hero this time. But if he doesn't score there, we would have all been wondering why Pastrnak didn't shoot there, as he seemed to have an open chance, but elected to pass back to Zacha, who shoots into an open net, as Husso thought for sure Pastrnak was shooting, and the Bruins win 3-2 in overtime. Bruins played a good game, but had a very sloppy second period, but outshot the Red Wings 36-26 and outhit them 40-14. If it wasn't for the penalty trouble in the second, I think the Bruins might have won this game in regulation. The power plays for the Red Wings, it gave them life, even though they didn't score. Sacco, after the game, spoke to the impact Zadorov has when he's on the ice as opposed to being in the box.
What'd you think of the shot by Zadorov there in the goal?
I liked it, one in the back of the net. So I thought, he was engaged in the game tonight. He was physical and he was just defending hard tonight. When he was on the ice, the opposition knew that he was playing, and the goal was good. We'd like to see more of that. We talked about that. We talked about D being shot ready, and there actually wasn't any. I don't think there was any traffic in front of him on that one. We were off to the side. We were trying to get there, but it was just a good enough shot where it went off the post.
Obviously, there's really good size on a pairing with him and Carlo, but what else do you like about them two together?
Well, I just think they have the ability to be a shutdown pair, play against top lines. Z's, more physical. Brandon's hard to play against because of his reach and his smarts defensively. So, if those two guys can gain some chemistry and play against top lines, they're going to be an effective pair for us.
In the end, the Bruins win, and it felt like an important win now, and they also have 2 wins in a row. They improved their record to 13-11-3 and stay third in the Atlantic, but have played a lot more games than Tampa, who is behind them. Every game right now feels like a must-win situation, I feel, because the Bruins gave up so much ground to start the season with their poor play. You can't help but think if the new success has anything to do with the coach, or if they just found their game. I think we can all admit that they're playing a much tighter defensive game and have been harder on the forecheck and taking way more shots, which is creating chances under Sacco. The games have felt much more enjoyable to watch than what we've saw under Montgomery, unfortunately, but only time will tell. The Bruins will be right back at it tonight against the struggling Chicago Blackhawks. But we get to see a bunch of former Bruins in the game, which, going off what has happened all year, means the Bruins lost, unfortunately. Swayman will get the start, but hopefully the Bruins can string together their 3rd win in a row and we can finally say they're on a winning streak for the first time all season. I want to hear from you about the highs and the lows from the Bruins' 3-2 win in overtime over Detroit. That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you, and I'll see you next time.